Hello and welcome to another episode of Canadian History Ehx. As you can see from my hat, I like hockey. I'm a lifelong Edmonton Oilers fan and I've been cheering for the team since the 1980s. But there's a great history to the NHL. Many teams have come and gone. There have been many Canadian teams over the years. Some are still around, many aren't. But one team that almost existed would have been in a very unique place. And it would have changed the NHL forever. So on today's video, I'm talking about the story of the Saskatoon Blues. It was in the mid-1980s when Canadian teams dominated the NHL. Between 1982 and 1989, a Canadian team was in every single Stanley Cup final, winning the Stanley Cup every single year between 1984 and 1989. With the game in Canada thriving, and the St. Louis Blues in financial trouble despite doing well on the ice, this set up the perfect opportunity for another NHL team in Canada. Ralston Purina owned the St. Louis Blues, but they were losing $1.8 million a year during the 6 years the company owned the team. Chairman R. Hal Dean took the losses in stride, and after he retired, his successor, William Sturitz, had no interest in hockey and saw the Blues as just another money-losing venture. He quickly put the St. Louis Blues on the market, and several interested parties came forward, but none had enough money to meet his asking price. That was until January 12, 1983, when the founder of the Edmonton Oilers and the WHA, Bill Hunter, also known as Wild Bill, came forward as Batani Hunter Enterprises and tendered an offer to buy the team. He also had plans to build an 18,000-seat arena in Saskatoon, costing $43 million in total for the 1983-84 NHL season. This was the public announcement of the possible sale, but negotiations had actually begun much earlier, and on December 7, 1982, during a road trip to Edmonton, the Saskatchewan Board of Trade representatives began handing out pamphlets to the St. Louis players that detailed Saskatchewan in the NHL. But who was Bill Hunter? Well, he was born on May 5, 1920 in Saskatoon, and always had a dream of owning an NHL team. As was stated, he would found the WHA, which completely altered the hockey landscape of the 1970s and beyond. He would bring hockey to many overlooked Western Canadian cities as a result, including Winnipeg, Calgary, and Edmonton. Prior to this, he would form the Western Canadian Hockey League, now the Western Hockey League, which operates to this day, and the teams from that league have won the Memorial Cup more times than any other Canadian junior league. Hunter would also create the Alberta Oilers, which would become the Edmonton Oilers in 1973. In 1976, he sold the team to Nelson Skalbania, who partnered with Peter Pocklington, who then bought out the shares of Skalbania to completely own the team. That team would go on to pick up a guy named Wayne Gretzky, and then some others named Fuhr, Curry, Coffey, Messier, and Anderson, to form the greatest NHL team in history during the 1980s. While Hunter never owned a team in the NHL, he certainly left his mark on it, and I personally think he should be in the Hockey Hall of Fame as a builder. So back to the Saskatoon Blues. On February 18th, Bill Hunter would be speaking at a sportsman dinner in Swift Current, Saskatchewan when he said, "We will have an NHL team in Saskatchewan this fall. It will be the finest franchise in the league, and the Saskatoon Coliseum will be the most magnificent hockey building in North America." He would add, speaking to the naysayers in the hockey world, "People say it can't be done. The hell with them. It can be done, and it will be done. The NHL is coming, and you wonderful people of Saskatchewan deserve it because you are not second-class citizens." Hunter had a $20 million 20-year deal with Molson's Brewery and a $32 million loan guarantee from the province to back the mortgage of the arena that would be built, and he even talked to Don Cherry about being the head coach of the team. On April 19th, Ralston would authorize the sale of the team to what was now called Coliseum Holdings Limited for $12 million or $28.2 million today. On May 2nd, Emile Francis, the general manager of the St. Louis Blues, asked to be released from his contract, and soon after 60% of the Blues' remaining employees were fired. All that remained was the 75% authorization vote by the NHL Board of Governors for the sale of the club. Harold Ballard, the owner of the Maple Leafs, was one of the owners most against the idea, saying at one point, "Who the hell wants to go to Saskatoon anyway? I don't want to be taking dog sleds to get around." The vote would occur on May 18th when the board voted 15-3 against the sale of the team to the Saskatoon group. One of the biggest worries was that Saskatoon had only 150,000 people, and there was a concern that a team there had no chance of being self-sustaining or financially viable. This would end the Saskatoon bid for good. At the time, it would seem odd that the NHL ended the bid based on that because both Hartford and Quebec City had similar population sizes, and both had NHL teams. But, looking at the 1990s, they likely made the right call. Between 1990 and 1999, Canada would gain one team, the Ottawa Senators, but lose teams in Quebec City and Winnipeg, while nearly losing the Edmonton Oilers to the United States. As for Hartford, they would move to Carolina. Average salaries went from $340,000 to $4 million per year, which would have completely tanked the Saskatoon franchise. For the St. Louis Blues, they would remain in St. Louis, although there would be a very few chaotic months ahead, and the team would become the first and only team to not participate in the entry draft that year. Lawsuits would be launched, the NHL would step in to do a deal, but eventually a man by the name of Harry Ornest, who had grown up in Edmonton, would come in and purchase the team. A few years later, the team would trade for Brett Hull and develop a strong core that would make it one of the top teams in the NHL. In 2019, the St. Louis Blues would win their first Stanley Cup. Saskatoon, meanwhile, still does not have an NHL team. What would have happened with the Saskatoon Blues? Who knows, really? Maybe they would have been a basement-dwelling team for most of those years. It is unlikely they would have received Brett Hull in a trade with the Calgary Flames, given they were divisional rivals, but maybe they would have gone on to win 5 Stanley Cups in the 1990s. Maybe they would have moved to Las Vegas. Who knows? But in some universe out there, a Saskatoon's Blues franchise did exist. I hope you enjoyed that look at the Saskatoon Blues and their history. Please give a like and maybe even share this video. You can reach me at craig@canadaehx.com, and you can find hundreds of articles on Canada's history on my website at canadaehx.com, and you can find my podcast where I release multiple episodes a week. Just search for Canadian History Ehx. That's EHX. You can also support the podcast through Patreon. Just go to patreon.com/CanadaEHX, just like these wonderful people have.